So my name is Luz, and I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for this lovely space that you're in, which is the Kimpton Alton. So Kimpton has a really great history. We actually started in San Francisco. We are the flagship hotel, so the kind of like the trailblazer of boutique hotels, right? So people are really interested in staying in unique spaces. And Bill Kimpton actually kind of started this movement in San Francisco. One of the things that we currently do and kind of carry his legacy through is we host a social wine hour from 5 to 6 every night. So if you stay at our hotel, you get complimentary wine and craft beer and sometimes cocktails or, hot toddy. And that's every night from 5 to 6. But the other thing is that Kimpton really celebrates diversity. And we love to celebrate it too here at the property. So this is why we are doing National Poetry Day. We've done some really amazing activations and programmings at the property with other partners like Black Girls Greenhouse, and we've hosted events for them to really celebrate just not only local artists, but people that actually have local businesses within the Black community. So it's very special to Kimpton as a brand, but also special to us. So we thank you for being our guest for us today. If you have any needs, because I'm going to just plug us in for rooms, if you're interested, if you have any needs and you're looking to plan an event, whether it's a social gathering or you have a group that is doing poetry, we'd love to talk to you afterwards. We have just this space as well, but we also do events out in our outdoor space, which is our garage, but we've done like really cool activations with partners, and they bring in all of their goods, and we do kind of like a mercado, is what they would call it. So that's all I have to say, but we have 248 rooms. We're pet friendly, we're family friendly, we're everybody friendly. We welcome everyone, and we're just happy to celebrate this day with you. So thank you so much for
Being black shouldn't be a death sentence. Rusty gallows. Reddish-brown corrosion covers the whole goddamn structure like a filthy blanket. With so much widespread decay, this old tarnished bridge should have collapsed from crashing waters many floods ago. By some fluke of nature, unscathed by time, it still stands above the muddy Chickasaw River in Shabuta, Mississippi. Once a passageway to a long-forgotten Clark County destination, twice an implement of execution like an iron crucifix. This is you, skull and crossbones etched on the bridge's base, cryptic warning meant for anyone unlucky enough to cross it, and a visible line away from their place. Between both world wars, unspecified parties, now let's rephrase that, haters, strung up 4 boys, 2 girls, both pregnant, young, Negro, and guilty of nothing, hung from knotted ropes, tied to rusty girders over the coursing river like 6 black flags, sailing in the gentle southern wind. Rusty Gallows, inspired by the nonfiction book The Hanging Bridge by Jason Morgan Ward. And this next poem is a long poem for a famous ancestor who helped start the fight to make every black person in this country free. This one is called Iola, for Michelle Duster, great-granddaughter of Ida B. Wells Barnett. Excerpt. It was a sudden shooting of 3 successful black grocers, all good friends because Southern white gentlemen despised competition that brought the school teacher to her typewriter. Motivation for her, Iola. Shone truth's light on ghastly wrongs between the Evening Star and free speech until hatred's fire was set to a printing press, added stress on a journalistic princess, Memphis, off limits to her, Iola. New York City, Northern Refuge, safe enough to continue the deluge. Reports on Southern horrors acquired from talks with victims' relations, fleshed out by her, Iola. The record of the South continued to go red from any hick town producing Nubian dead, from shotgun shells, bullets, fire, and rope, enclosed around necks of humanity, counted by her, Iola. That never failed to chill the soul, commonly used method of control. When blacks came up, supremacy cut them down. Allegations of rape of white women found false by her, Iola. Chicago, England, Wales, Scotland, wherever she did a speech on the crime of lynching. Preach, lady, preach. America isn't the land of the free if you're black. The gist from her, Iola. That was an excerpt of a long poem called Iola. And the next one is based on actual events that took place in my current home city of Oakland 2 years ago. This is called Broadway. Splotch of Krylon black paint changed the name and character of downtown Oakland's main drag from Broadway to Broadway, and it shows. When the businesses closed down behind thick plywood and nails, polychromatic murals went up, coating them with words and images, open air free of charge. Art exhibit over 2 miles wide, not 2 blocks, not 2 streets, 2 miles wide. Aerosol can homages to the non-Caucasians no longer here. Bayard Rustin, Ray Charles, John Lewis, Sandra Bland, Emmett Till, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. And heroes still among the living. Angela Davis, Cornel West, Boots Riley, Stevie Wonder. Different sceneries in different hues declare liberation for Africans here in the West. The dead deserve justice, the living respect. Who would have thought civil unrest, shattered glass, protesters battling cops could bring a great surfeit of beautiful paint, art for blocks. That was called Broadway. And for the entire year of 2020, all 2 miles of Broadway, or I should say Broadway, was covered with wall-to-wall murals on all the closed down and shuttered up businesses. Paintings done by local artists that featured all the heroes, living and dead, that I mentioned in that poem. And the last one is mercifully short, 1 page. And it's about a state on the other side of the country who has a very secret but odious history. This one is called Slave State. The South's original sin hadn't missed the North. Dutch and English settlers in colonial times bought and worked by the head, imported. Living commodities, subjects of kidnapping from Africa, South Carolina, forced to build the material wealth at the ironworks, farms, apple orchards, for a more condescending kind. Social codes, bullwhip brutality, black and native together in abject captivity. The nasty little secret the Garden State continues to omit from their ongoing story. It will take more than an apology from a politician's mouth for us to develop any trust in systems, Northern or so. The last poem is called Slave State, in memory of my old friend, San Francisco poet and New Jersey native, and Vietnam War veteran, Bruce Hanson, 1947 to 2019. Rest in peace. And all those poems came from my new and sixth book, Rusty Gallows, now available from Vagabond Books. If you like what you heard here tonight, I happen to have copies for sale for $15. From this mic to your ears, I'll be out. Thanks for listening.
It's really great to be in this space with you all and to be reading alongside so many poets that I admire. Yeah, when Kevin said, think about like a poet who kind of like informs you as a writer or even as like a writing ancestor, the first person that came to mind was Nikki Finney, but then also Harrietta Mullins. She's a Southern poet. I'm from the South, and
Me too.
rise up! Rise up. So I'm gonna start off with this poem. It's not titled, but it's from her book, Supermarket or Sperm Kit. And I'll just start reading, and then I'm gonna read 2 poems. Chill out a cold, cold world. Open frost freeze, frigid. Ooh, this is not the one that I'm reading. Wait. Oh. Okay, this is the one. Okay. It must be white. A picture of health, the spongy napkin made to blot blood, dainty paper soaks up leaks that steaks splayed on trays are oozing. Lights replace the blush red flesh is losing. Cutlet leak, tenderloins bleed pink light, plastic wrap bandanas, marbled slabs, and sanitary packaging made to be stained. A 3-hanky picture of feminine hygiene. So. If you can find it, get it. So, I love her writing just because of the imagery and the language. And so this is a very, very new poem that will probably be different the next time that I read it, but I'm gonna read it now, and then I'm gonna read a poem about my mom. This is called Fallout. Jittery angels abound, loosen toothache. For a buck and 2 cents, just smile, smile, smile. Bite a hole in the head. It works like magic. Leather podged over tongue, lined in foam, hovering each breath. Keep smiling, 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 and breathe in quick. A dribbled chain tossed and clumping. A whimpered laughter strikes the air like lightning, spotty in the late afternoon. A mossy cling, dredged up with oily butcher paper, cupping the center. A tender sore runs, bottoming my chin, before I notice the dermal trench. Handlebars poke out like spikes, like lined up bricks next to a car dealership. I forget the name they give it. That which is holy to the dogs, a clutch of pearls gone rolling. Imperfecta. Raw canines howl and crawl for moonlight, on soft knees over gutter grates, cream of the crop divvied up. All I need is to see you smile. Dominoes squeak and look at each other in confused delight. Dark shadows bending between molars, niggas caught between her teeth, flossed out, pull $1 on a bloody string. Words are cheap when the body complies. A wet rag, just smile, 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 like turning coals. That poem I wrote because my dad, I was on the phone and he was trying to give me advice. And he was like, just smile! I was like, I don't want to smile. I'm so mad, I don't want to smile. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And then this poem is for my mom. It's called Cicadas. So, yeah.
June bug.
Yeah, June bugs. So I grew up in Kentucky, and so every 17 years the cicadas come out. And last summer they came out, and so I went home and I was with my mom, and everywhere we went, they would just like bump into you. they don't know what they're doing, but it's really lovely. So this is about like a moment with her and with them. Cicadas. Illumined nymphs dig their way back up. A thirst for life's dewed armor, unsieved gold callous in the weeds like clipped marigolds bring forth prodigal birth, dirtied by sun exposure. Newly awakened chatter pulses. It lines the horizon, a sonic pathway landing directionless babes. They crown the thornbeam, twisting and dampening fizzed air. A rooster's song wavers. Short-lived, could you believe that solitude felt so familiar? A squirming, raged unearthed, tickles an eager brood's underbelly, blinded by light, squeezed between braided fingers, but content with their fitful dance. Without credo, a fumbled mass of soft bodies collide, aching tubers smash as plucked wings drift. Without occasion, clinked glass falls at our shoulders. Without break, a sticky, mouthless choir propels. I'm alive, alive, alive. Fraying the street noise, Mama hums back.
I thought I would start with a poem by Maya Angelou. I was recently in Kenya talking with student poets there, and it was really beautiful, and I was asked to share a poem, and I chose to share this one. It's called Life Doesn't Frighten Me at All. Shadows on the wall, noises down the hall. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Bad dogs barking loud, big ghosts in a cloud. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Mean old mother goose, lions on the loose. They don't frighten me at all. Dragons breathing flame on my counterpane. That doesn't frighten me at all. I go boo, make them shoo. I make fun, way they run. I won't cry, so they fly. I just smile, they go wild. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Tough guys fight, all alone at night. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Panthers in the park, strangers in the dark. No, they don't frighten me at all. That new classroom where boys pull my hair, kissy little girls with curls in their hair. They don't frighten me at all. Don't show me frogs and snakes and listen for my scream. If I'm afraid at all, it's only in my dreams. I've got a magic charm that I keep up my sleeve. I can walk the ocean floor and never have to breathe. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Not at all. Not at all. Life doesn't frighten me at all. So that poem worked for a lot of reasons. I was teaching English learning students. We're like grade 6 or 7, and also spent a lot of time with the university students who are in this book, which a lot of people in this room are in. So thank you for bearing with me. I'm going to mostly talk about this book. It is an exchange between poets in Africa and poets here in America, and what I discovered is that poetry is such a healing and fearless thing, and you know, in editing the book, you never know what's going to happen when exchanging. I know people don't write back, or they do, but in the end, when I got there, And I met some of the people who exchanged poems with many of the people in this room. It was kind of like, wow, we were really communicating. So I just feel honored. Please check it out. There's some in the back. And I also wanted to share one last poem written by Tongo's poet partner, Bonfas. He wrote a poem for all the poets that were there, and this one is called We All Matter. So this is Bonfas Nyam Nyawe, and he wrote a poem for each of the poets. This is the one he wrote to me at the end of the event. We all matter. Our ancestors have all lied down, see? They are thanking you, you the great poet, for your openness to remind us of the story of the suffering of the Black people abroad. You have reminded us that it is good to join hands to share ideas as we fathom this issue, how human beings can be one thing, white and Black people to share the same plate. I'm white in Africa, by the way. I spent a lot of time talking about that with them, you know, and just kind of, it was like beautiful. So that was like an inside joke. White and Black people to share the same plate, with no one provoking another, with no one sneering at another, with no one grabbing from another, with no one killing another. Yes, please, give us a bite of your wisdom in the future when you have a similar program. Look, we are with you to the finishing line. Your friend, poet, Bonfas Isaboke Nyam Nyawe.
So I'd like to read first from Black Prudence. It's by our dear Colin Brundage, of course. My poem is entitled Those Yesteryears, and I'm dedicating it to my mom. The years have been long, much too long to remember the hurtful times encountered in our relationship. But I do remember the beautiful times we shared. Those yesteryears were magical. And in this moment, I want to embrace our life together again. Knowing it is impossible, I cling to those memories and mourn losing you. In physicality, albeit, we will spiritually be together eternally. As a child, I did not understand your unrelenting outspokenness, protesting so me and my siblings could attend better schools. I wanted my mother at home, safe, not out in the community fighting for school rights. 'Cause I heard the unkind words and saw the hatred in the eyes of white people that wanted to keep Black children out of their schools. Working tirelessly at home with 6 children and holding down a job, you knew the importance of education and advocating for your family and community, instilling in us the necessity for education. Your powerful, gentle brilliance continues to guide and fortify me in my life. It is the mirror that I hold, the blessings that unfold, the wisdom that must be told. My next poem I'm reading from my book, Ghana on My Mind, Poetic Reflections on the Journey to the Motherland. And this was a sojourn that I actually took with Warr, West Oakland to West Africa, with Colin Brundage as our founder and leader. Thank you so much, Colin. It changed my life. So this book is available at Moat, at soon to be at Marcus Books. It's also available at Amazon, and I have copies here today if you'd like to purchase. Yes. So the poem that I'm reading from my book is entitled Ghana, Oh Ghana. It is the first poem that I wrote for this book, and I wrote it on the plane. Here's a picture of Kala, Tyrese, and me sitting side by side on the plane. Okay. Traveling by air across the sea, journey of a lifetime, finally coming to be. Land of my ancestors, history awaits, unveiling roots, opening wounds where scars are left to heal. Weaving spirits and touching souls, Ghana, oh Ghana, constantly on my mind. When I arrive, what do I hope to find? Will you be there, waiting to welcome and receive me with embracing arms? Will I feel your love running through me until my cup runneth over? Here I sit, staring out at clouds, silently praying, Ghana, oh Ghana, your distant, disconnected family is now returning home to a country once thought of as the land of no return. My last and final poem I'm going to read from a mentor of mine whose name is Maya Angelou. And the poem of hers that I will read to you is entitled, Still I Rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I arise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from the past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise into a daybreak that's wondrously clear. I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise. I rise. I rise.
I probably would not be writing poetry if I had not, like, one, been listening to Tupac, but two, you know, I just had not read Langston Hughes when I did. So this is one of the first poems that I like really just get winning on, you know. The Weary Blues. Droning a drowsy syncopated tune, rocking back and forth to a mellow croon, I heard a Negro play. Down on Lenox Avenue the other night by the pale, dull pallor of an old gaslight, he did a lazy sway. He did a lazy sway. To the tune of those weary blues. With his ebony hands on each ivory key, he made that poor piano moan with melody, oh blues. Swaying to and fro on the rickety stool, he played that sad, raggy tune like a musical fool, sweet blues. Coming from a black man's soul, oh blues. In a deep song voice with a melancholy tone, I heard that Negro sing that old piano moan. Ain't got nobody in all this world. Ain't got nobody but myself. I was gonna quit my frowning and put my worries on the shelf. Thump, thump, thump went his foot on the floor. He played a few chords and he sang some more. I got the weary blues and can't be satisfied. Got the weary blues and can't be satisfied. I ain't happy no more and I wish that I died. And into the night he crooned that tune. The stars went out and so did the moon. The singer stopped playing and went to bed while the weary blues echoed in his head. He slept like a rock or a man that's dead. Ooh, yeah, still, every time.
Yeah. Read that one.
Yeah. I remember us having so much fun, you took a dump behind an oak tree because you didn't want to walk home. It was fall, and you described the leaves' cold scratch as if it were trying to pick thick pudding from a tight space, spoon brittling away between fingertips from the weight. For several days, we'd watch the white ritual of it harden, let scavengers pick at it like cruel punishment for knowing we put it there. 6 months after, you invited me to my first cipher, an impromptu group of hoodies and windbreakers leaning against gymnasium walls like living graffiti. See, there was this one guy, Green Eyes. He was twice the size of the next cat, had a mustache, not peach fuzz, but the real kind you couldn't cut with bare clippers. He was the type of light skin you wouldn't call an African booty scratcher because it was too improbable. And his bars reflected him too. Hey yo, like Bishop from Juice shouldn't have so I'm messing with you, cause he dark skin guy think he can rap, he's 5 bullets for you. But blah, 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 blah. Take that. Hey son, pass me your shoes. And the crowd, ooh, like they'd heard him for the first time as he walked the line, stomping the aluminum of each lyricist's pride. It got to the point that nobody had anything to offer him, so he twisted his snap cap back forward and we all wafted in its silence. Till my cousin spit lines at me, stuff about how I peed the bed, piss bucket next to mattress so I never missed, and most of it wasn't true. But I was about to not be 10 and I knew what he was doing. High school clicklessness was not cool, and these guys were. Green Eyes is. The irises widening of each bar stymied in front of me. And I knew I should take it. These cats didn't even know my name. I could only rap along the tapes, had no rep, went to a different school. Plus, he had never seen me nearly naked or palmed the conversation that may have changed my life. You wouldn't end up like the brothers down in Peabody's house, fool? That was it, but still I kept crack kills close in the Cereal Bowl on Saturday morning during Dragon Ball Z. Usually next to you, and here you were transitioning from youth static glider high. It was shocking. And when you said the line about my dead mama, I wanted to cry. Throw kick you against the pavement and cry. This wasn't the last Saturday. We grow up and always be in touch. If there was an entire country between us, it would mean nothing. Your opinion, like glitter, impossible to get rid of, except it was useful. This wasn't the last Saturday. We'd embrace each other first after each child was born. I miss you the way clouds miss rain and peeps plead to the sky evaporate. This wasn't the last Saturday. I'd eulogize you when you die. Break a pact. Tell an entire congregation about that time you dropped the deuce behind an oak tree. The first acknowledgement of it ever between my lips. Instead, I mentioned it in a terrible freestyle that barely rhymed to 9 dudes who meant nothing to me, but were everything to you.
With Whitey on the moon. Her face and arms began to swell, and Whitey's on the moon. I can't pay no doctor bill, but Whitey's on the moon. 10 years from now, I'll be paying still, while Whitey's on the moon. The man just upped my rent last night, because Whitey's on the moon. No hot water, no toilets, no lights, but Whitey's on the moon. I wonder why he's upping me, because Whitey's on the moon. I was already paying $50 a week. With Whitey on the moon. Taxes taking my whole damn check. Junkies making me a nervous wreck. Price of food going up. And as if all that shit wasn't enough. A rat done bit my sister in. With Whitey on the moon. Her face and arm began to swell, but Whitey's on the moon. Was all that money I made last year for Whitey on the moon? How come there ain't no money here? Because Whitey's on the moon.
That's cool. That's cool.
You know, I just about had my fill of Whitey on the moon. I think I'll send these doctor bills, airmail special, to Whitey on the Moon by Gil Scott Heron. I had this dream planned during the weekday that I was laid up in the hospital, and people kept coming into my room by the dozens, and each dozen had special handshakes for each other, and occasionally current dance moves. And they would kick my hospital bill from time to time to let me know that they'd be dancing from this room on out to my grave. Strange cha-chas and soft shoe shuffles. Disco spins like they were dancing for a white sundial, marking numbness in their little feet drum race riot, and I was ready to die because, you know, ask a musician in the tunes after court, it's the surroundings themselves that is the uniform, but still I just couldn't bring myself to visualize against God. One of them stood over me like a conductor, waving their arms over my body, directing my heart to beat fainter and fainter, directing the tubes to turn the fluids back. I kept fading from consciousness with thud after thud on the legs of my bed as they danced wilder and wilder, meek, or artificially meek like an artificial pastor told them to be. I was to be some kind of projection, a character to be laid at their feet. You're the only one participating in the revolution today. They mocked, and I was ready to go because, you know, there's plenty of pianos that could use a new soul, and I'm thinking we're going to be in the revolution for as long as it takes, so you can punch me out now. I mean, I was born with one foot in the lime pit anyway, but man, check it out. No one bothered to ask the doctor if I was really dead. Just too busy strutting, too busy kissing. I just kept fading and fading with only enough breath and sweet consciousness to count their smiles. Wow. You know, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I heard a voice, a whisper, and it was counting with me. 6, we said. 7, we said. 8. Then another voice joined us. 9, 10. Then another. You see, I haven't been eating, Mama. I've been in a trance. I haven't been sleeping. I've been washing my face off the port of Charleston. There's blood on the fall. These little societies, they wander together like hopeful drops of a virus. Citizen testaments bent on offer me a nation of breadwinners to hold me back. Like it's a Brinks, I wrinkle the concrete sometimes like flesh. My Martin Luther King permanence turned away from a podium into the reeds like God is a dangerous twin. Black August to the mountaintop balcony on my bedroom floor. You know, they steal you from the earth itself and suspend you in your broken neck from their foolish euphoria. From the loyalty over their great superstitions, loyalty over their agrarian reform, I returned to my mother completely disrespected. For peeling the heat off of purgatory, they killed poets like me. Walked me away from my poems, never to be heard from again. In this foul industrial complex of bloodlines picked over, picked through, sport and spiritual death that you devil at least half made, police become a pretty word. I'm reading a lynch mob shoestrings like they were tea leaves, teaching you how to write about cities. It's the 25th century in the mirror, people. Tyranny against your chump change your chump to be mocked even with a gun in your car. A cubit of needlework spelled tomb for the proletariat, the relapse ministry. Talented people curled up in a fetal position next to a diamond dime. Just another service day in the theatrics of tea-house fascism and a bouquet of surveillance cameras in the poverty of God. New blue eyes, courses of water, a newly potted presidency, a one big shiny coin if you ask, animated capitalism, another non-literal voice, killing his white freedom, the deification of hyphens, medicine bread and picture shows, great protesters in LA, guests of our ink, drop kicking rolls in the graveyard, this DC mink like a stone torn in half, the pen advances, despite CIA guideposts, despite non-African past and futures, a metaphorical but not surreal day in a horn-ridden life, horn player improvising king, like a radio prize fight featuring Shango himself, a real hand speaks the land of racism. May I return to the ground, may I make progress with the gun, on our mother Emmanuel they put on music that evening, a swinging tight body language for you to drink with fermented $5 bills for your body language, some applause. My past stomach line ain't neither a good thing nor a bad thing, like being psychic on the way with a lethal injection. It'll sit you down with Lady Day. Lady Day leading you to surrender their souls to Africa too soon. Poly thought floating in a cup of water, she saved me. Accessing my stomach, accessing the love of the American lynched. Coast leaves wood and avalanche to the wrist. Our mother Emmanuel, avalanche to the sharp keys. Pain, the deal you make with pain. A piano makes sense for them. Laying hands on the world gradually. Addressing the bending necks on the streets of the north. Traveling, sailing in pain, repeating pain in the north. 10 trigger fingers on that piano if harmony would have me. Putting 100 fights on every direction offered her. Lady Day, leaning on trees again. Recruiting the countryside itself. Lay your plan on this lightning. Make your poems the corner pocket of men. I've created the blues itself. America may clean my dead body, but will never include me. There goes the poet. Killing without killing. Never mind this little painting of your language. May I be a meaningful lynching. A crow's passing. Shit. Good and dead by the afternoon. Man, they'll slide the wallpaper right into your cereal bowl. Flesh market both sides of the levee, change of plans both sides of the nonviolence on no earth, just an earth character. I'm a beggar and all this day is too easy. I want to see all the phases of a wall, every age it goes through, its humanity, its environmental racism. You know, we call this the ordeal blues. Now crawl to the piano seat and make a blanket for yourself. Paint scenes of a child dancing up to a court appearance and leaving an adult but not for home. Atlantic Ocean charts mixed in with the parole papers. Mainstream funding, the ruling class only pacifists. Ruling class printing judges. Fiat kangaroos making judges hand over fist. Rapture cop packs and opposition whites all above the thorny stem. Cast plans picked out like vans for the murder show. Anglo Saints addicting you to a power structure shit. You want me to raise a little slave, don't you? Bash his little brain in and send him to your civil rights. No pain, just a little white pain. Delicate bullets in a box next to a stack of monolith scriptures. I mean, making bullets look relevant. I remember you, The posture you introduce to that fence, the fence you introduce to political theory, like if you shred my dream, son, I will tack you to gun smoke. Like the suburbs are finally offended. And this will be a meditation too.
This is a work of fiction and the inspiration for the first poem that I'm going to share. Where there's a woman, there is magic. If there's a moon falling from her mouth, she is a woman who knows her magic, who can share or not share her powers. A woman with a moon falling from her mouth, roses between her legs, and tiaras of Spanish moss. This woman is a consort of the spirits. So this poem is entitled Consort of the Spirits, after Zakiyyah. There are road maps in my great-great-grandmother's braids. She keeps seeds in there too, because where we are going, home must come with us. Tell me how your mother hides spices in the hem of her skirt, tucks hymns behind her ears, and calls it packing for tomorrow. Do the women in your family hide rose water in their saliva, sage in between their thighs? Because how dare we sleep on strange land without blessing? There are black-eyed peas in my auntie's coin purse. She keeps moonlight in there too, because luck is far more precious than loose change. Tell me how your sister folds indigo leaves between her toes, smuggles cotton flowers beneath her arms, and promises that where we are going, there will be color. Do the women in your family wrap beeswax around their ring fingers, tuck matchsticks in their collarbones, and promise that we will never know darkness? I carry a cowrie shell in the crook of my arm. It sings when my twins are near. I wear sea glass upon my ears because where we are going, there will be music. They call this survival, but we know better. Where there's a woman, there's magic. They call this survival, but we pack what we must because what we return to may no longer be ours. They call this survival, but this ritual of making to leave before knowing where we're headed is how we birth futures. They call this survival, but the body is a compass, and we are each other's destination. Thank you. This next piece is entitled Say Her Name, and it is an honor to have it included in the publication Painting the Streets. They locked up history today, barred the doors, threw away the key, called her truth false. Four walls between her and her children said, hush. These walls not for talking, only home wrecking. It's here we learn grievance cannot be rehearsed. Justice only got catcalled once today. Not bad for a missing woman. If she's invisible in the first place, who's to say she was ever here? Sis got taken too, so now we take to the streets saying, no justice, no peace. We yell our sister's names against the chorus of what she have on, to which we cry, defiance. Oh, so she was asking for it? To which we remind them that nobody's got time to look inviting when there are revolutions growing beneath our tongues. What's that? You couldn't hear for all the white noise? It's here we learn fragility doesn't listen anyways. So as history tells us, we must repeat ourselves. No justice, no peace. last poem I'm going to share also draws inspiration from a Black literary ancestor. This poem is entitled "In the Day Diamonds Are in the Water," and the title pulls a line from Toni Morrison's Beloved. The only time the ocean cut me, I bled stories. They said, what a beautiful yet terrifying thing it is to be free. They said, we have traveled years to bring you our names. We knew you'd forget them, or worse, never recognize them in the first place. They said, rememory me. Unfold your tongue. Gather in your hand all the cities your foremothers birthed freedom in. Scatter milkweed seeds in the wind and call us home. So waterlogged and weary, I bandage my wounds with diamonds and rise from seafoam memory, homebound. I've never been far from the page. How else to learn what moonlight looks like through blue-eyed promises? Oh, but to be Sonia, to be Tony, to be wind in a cotton field scattering marigolds. I wish I knew Arkansas clouds like I do the lines on a poem, like I do the recipe for forgiveness. Joy is memory in the refrain, magic too hopeful to stay hidden. See, the trick to befriending stories is listening after all. Yet sometimes belonging cannot be traced by tide lines or railroads carved out of the night sky, but rather dog-eared pages and overdue book finds. See, having a library to owe things to makes one at home, right? So we write, we sing, we rename our story legacy before they claim we were never here in the first place. Find us on the page, as she said, this is the first battlefield we play on. Here our words dance, and so we too leap into blissful surrender. And one day we will fly, and one day we will fly. Thank you.
Okay. First piece I'm going to read, and I wanted to remember a quote by Fannie Lou Hamer. And, ooh, that woman went through some things. But she said, memory is an insurance policy against loss. Memory, an insurance policy against loss. So I'm going to read from the book Life, Light, Remember. And this was during the time of the Black Panthers. We were soldiers on the battlefield with light in our eyes, said Sister Sonia. 1994, 23 years after volunteering at the George Jackson Free Health Clinic, the Tribune calls, asks, how many guns did you have at the Black Panther Clinic? How many guns? Not how many services were provided, not how many programs were implemented, not how many doctors or healthcare workers volunteered, not even why we care to put into practice such a program with so many hospitals in our community. No, didn't ask any of that. Wanted to know how many guns we had. Not what illnesses or diseases most affected our communities, or how often we screened for diabetes, sickle cell, or checked for high blood pressure, if at all, or what may have been my specialty at the time. I would have told them it was about certain grains to regain genetic memory. But They wanted to know how many guns we had. Not who ran the clinic or what days or hours of the week the clinic was open, or who was our hero or shero to set about such a task as our health needs today. Excuse me, I always get a little upset about this. To set about such a task as sustains our health needs today. No, the reporter didn't ask any of that. They wanted to know how many guns we had. Black men and women, late teens to 20-somethings, volunteered to become doctors, nurses, pharmacists, therapists, completed homework between seeing patients. Black volunteer physicians, Dr. Talbot Small, Eddie Newsom, developed methadone programs to destroy heroin addictions, purposely placed in our neighborhoods to weaken the Black power base. We took vital signs, provided prenatal care, kept patient records, organized chart rooms, med room, pharmacy, gave better care than Kaiser dared. Held light in our eyes. Books are bullets, educationally armed our right to fight through walls that imprisoned us as violent, drug-infested, gun-carrying, sex-crazed jigaboos. Kwame Ture warned us, education in this country makes you stupid, but what is worse, it makes you arrogant in your stupidity. The revolution is coming whether you want it or not. It is coming whether you want it or not. You must be politically prepared for what is coming. The revolution will not be televised, not be televised, not be televised. The revolution will be live. How many guns did we have? We were soldiers on the battlefield with light in our eyes. We are soldiers on the battlefield with light in our eyes. This next piece is, I think of James Baldwin and his quote. Was given a letter to teachers. First page, bottom paragraph, held the line, any Negro who undergoes the education system in this country runs the risk of becoming schizophrenic. So I wrote this poem, and it's in the voice of Nene's G-Ma, or Grandma. The Christmas tree. Nene's G-Ma be tripping. She be tripping. She be like, I told you not to bring a Christmas tree in this house. I might be tripping, but I have my reasons. You bring a tree in this house cut off from homeland that provided oxygen to a much-needed atmosphere. You bring a tree in this house packed and strapped to a vehicle with other trees cut from their roots, soil, grounding. Are you listening? Do you hear me? You bring a tree in this house, auctioned, bought, sold, taken to a stranger's home, off base, insecure, flat, linear, cross, nailed to its stump, stolen, passed down. You bring a tree in this house, hang electric all lights, on withering limbs place gold tinfoil angel star atop what might have been new growth. Have mercy. You bring a tree in this house, Foundation decapitated, capitalized, you gift with presence, colorfully wrapped in presence of its family's annihilation. Toast the Yuletide with pine needle fragrance evaporating, tree drying, shrivels, sparks potential fire hazard. You will throw away days after the New Year's celebration of the Gregorian two-faced gatekeeper, Janus of January. Sound familiar? How many ways must this variable within a constant play? Let's say you're that tree, family, lineage, culture, cut off from your roots, homeland, language, existence, tied to a vehicle with other trees, auctioned, bought, sold, transported to a foster home, cross-nailed to stumps, stolen past, senses are sacrificed, new world order suffice, you stand off balance. Your ancestral gifts dissed and dismissed. You no longer worship the S-U-N life birthing Earth's seed, food, security. You're born broken, worshiping an idol son's destiny, dressed in symbols of adoration, complacency, ornamented in suit tie, bone straight, flat line, deep frizzer, blonde wig wearing, blue-eyed contacts, staring lip joke, nose job embedded in bleached skin, wearing a Santa's hat. Your senses crack. AMA drugs smothers symptoms of high blood pressure, diabetes, migraines, heart attack. You feel lack, slack, lit up every night, posing for strangers, working, sweating, grinning, shuffling, dropping every shred of dignity you could have had you remained rooted to your native shoots, growing deeper roots with bee leaves of a bigger, stronger tree. Instead, it's time to throw your used, dried up ass out. Sound familiar? Too many trees laying in the gutters next to garbage cans. Too many dying in the streets. Do you understand? The light your master holds and the light we breathe carry two separate frequencies. Guess which one is not about the living tree? Nerve dendrites kinda look like trees, send and receives light electrochemically, and you wonder why your last nerve is worked every Christmas? It's straight up voodoo. Euro-patriarch hoodoo, the mythological fat dude dressed in a red, black, and white suit, fronting for a legba. The African trickster issue. I thought you knew. This is why Santa accepts credit for gifts you and forgives you give and given you, wrapped in presents under a tree, cut from its roots. His clause is a condition that claws your mind, boo, claws your mind. December 25th is not about his idol son's birth. It's about soul, our energy, S-U-N, rebirth. It's about the shortest day, meeting the longest night, steadily increasing daylight, the annual retelling of the winter solstice, the birth of the sun, true light of the world. Do you hear me? Are you listening? Don't bring no damn tree in this house. Don't bring no damn Christmas tree in this house, because I don't know which is worse, a fake tree or one cut from its roots. I'm serious. Don't replicate, duplicate, or imitate. None of that in this house. Or am I tripping?
I'm going to open with a poem by Mari Evans, titled, I Am a Black Woman. I am a black woman. The music of my song, some sweet arpeggio of tears, is written in a minor key, and I can be heard humming in the night, can be heard humming in the night. I saw my mate leap screaming to the sea, and I, with these hands, cupped the life breath from my issue in the cane brake. I lost Nat's swinging body in a rain of tears and heard my son scream all the way from Anzio for peace he never knew. Learned Da Nang and Pork Chop Hill in anguish. Now my nostrils know the gas, and these trigger-tired fingers seek the softness of my warrior's beard. I am a black woman, tall as a cypress, strong and beyond all definition, still defying place and time and circumstance, assailed, impervious, indestructible. Look on me and be renewed. And this is a poem from the Body Has Memories titled For Mama Mari. I am a black woman. I am from a long lineage of can do, of keep on keeping on, of you got this, girlfriend. I am not your escape, the one black friend that eases your very white conscience. I am from the former Confederate States of the U.S. African Enslaving A, so I can't be your forgetting. I am black tears, not cast before swine. I am a B-L-A-C-K woman, minus the L-A-C-K, okay? I am a returning to, I am the original woman. I am free. I am not your magical Negra, not your light-skinned, easy-to-accept bae. I am not Mass's homecoming. I am not fixing your dinner, rocking your cradle, or wet nursing your white guilt. And I am not leading the Soul Train line at your eggnog party. And no, you cannot, I repeat, cannot, can the ladies help me, shan't not touch my hair. To see how it feels between your white hands, I have crossed that Mason-Dixon line and made my hair my own field. I am a black woman. Please pronounce my name right and put some respect on it. I am from Aretha Franklin. Patti LaBelle on a high note. And Tina Turner on her way out the door. I am not your punching bag, and I will not eat the cake. I am a black woman. Woo! If you guys haven't researched the black arts movement poetry, I mean, go home, look these people up. The next poem is by Nikki Giovanni, Ego Tripping. I was born in the Congo. I walked to the Fertile Crescent and built the Sphinx. I designed a pyramid so tough that a star that only glows every 100 years falls into the center, giving divine, perfect light. I am bad. I sat on the throne drinking nectar with Allah. I got hot and sent an ice age to Europe to cool my thirst. My oldest daughter is Nefertiti. The tears from my birth pains created the Nile. I am a beautiful woman. I gazed on the forest and burned out the Sahara Desert. With a packet of goat's meat and a change of clothes, I crossed it in 2 hours. I am a gazelle so swift, you can't catch me. For a birthday present when he was 3, I gave my son Hannibal an elephant. He gave me Rome for Mother's Day. My strength flows ever on. My son Noah built New Ark, and I stood proudly at the helm as we sailed on a soft summer day. I turned myself into myself and was Jesus. Men intone my loving name, all praises, all praises. I am the one who would say, I sold diamonds in my backyard. My bowels deliver uranium. The filings from my fingernails are semi-precious jewels. On a trip north, I caught a cold and blew my nose, giving oil to the Arab world. I am so hip. Even my errors are correct. I sailed west to reach east and had to round off the earth as I went. The hair from my head thinned, and gold was laid across 3 continents. I am so perfect, so divine, so ethereal, so surreal, I cannot be comprehended, except by permission. I mean, I can fly like a bird in the sky.
That old poem, boy, that's...
So this is Queen Mother. You reading this, you love me because I am a survivor. I bleed, I sweat, I breathe the pride of Africa. I am God's love. When my womb grows, my skin splits and a new birth happens and babies cry like trumpets lighting the earth. My baby daddies are scattered in the eastern wind, chilled in the underworld of the west, and I stand from north to south, stepping in to raise kingdoms. My scars creation story, my tears compounded dirt into diamonds. My heartbeat oxygenates the earth. My veins are rivers connecting oceans. I breathe, you live. I breathe, you live. I breathe, you live until we die. You cannot live without me. Your mother, your sister, your nurturer, your life giver. Without me, the earth is void.
I have 3 poems. I kind of split them up into like one is from an ancestor, one is of ancestors, and then one is for an ancestor. So the first one is also in Zakiyyah, and this one's called For My Dead and Loved Ones. And the dedication is hers, not mine. So for Gail, Tracy, and Viola. Whatever shall I do with my dead? My tombs and mausoleums, these potted plants tended by strangers, over your eyes, closed, maybe dreaming, dead, loved, so particularly. I don't know what to do with you. Shall I see you dancing, hold your child asking what's mammy like? Should I sleep with your husband, who sees your child self in my memories? Your mother, will she bosom talk me to death with you, pretend she has been no mother? Our Smokey Robinson fantasies set aside, recollections coming to no good end. Grandma, Grandma, must I ride with your daughters to sit in the cemetery on sunny days, weed in your womb, when it be fish cakes, watching edge of night, rubbing me hands with my apron, humming, his eyes on the sparrow. Your photograph at 25 is on my wall. Already you'd given your woman over. No one would know you. Only Mama is remembered. When was there more? I shall not lie fondling a dead man's love, baking apples for a locket jammed with hair from a head no longer arrogant. But what shall I do with my dead? Loved so particularly, leaving me specifically. Some never stop breathing, wanting kisses. Some disappear, slamming the door, banging the phone. One went off in a VW bus, another stole my sleep. I sit here drinking memories, entertaining ghosts, longing for arms no longer warm, too enchanted to tend the pulse pushing me on to go off from you, my dead and loved ones. When I meet a someone I must know, I place you around me like a court of holy seers. If this stranger is to have a space in my life, she must pull your spirits to her own, for I wander regularly in moments of the dead. If you would have me speak, you must learn the tongue of my dead and loved ones. I have been left behind, a survivor, holding out for more. And then this one is a Cinto, so it's for the Communion of Saints, it's what it's called. It's her and then Gwendolyn Brooks, who I saw like on your books, like the whole back is like so many connections to Gwendolyn Brooks. It's also Luso Clifton and James Weldon Johnson.
Yeah. Wow. There's so many.
Your photograph at 25 is on my wall. I sit here drinking memories. We're real cool, we be the same, me and you. Grandma, Grandma, in my kitchen making gumbo, I'll listen to your problems. You were born, you had body, you died. Till earth and heaven ring, the world is turning, the dance of Jesus' music has hold of the air, and the townsfolk sing, we shall overcome, into the dirt that covers us all. Believe me, I knew you, though faintly, and I loved you. I placed you around me like a court of holy seers, and everything I do is magic these days. And then this one is called Alexa, Is It Raining? From my room, I can hear my mom asking the Alexa questions. Alexa, what's the temperature? Alexa, how do you spell? Alexa, is it raining? From my room, the window is open, the TV is off, and I can hear the sound of my fan, my mom's voice rising, and my brother playing a video game. And outside, I can hear the riding lawnmower man going down the street again. But there is no rain. Alexa, it is not raining. In our house, the light, naturally manufactured, doesn't enter, except in my room. There are bars on the windows, but those have been there. Mama put them there. Or rather, she and Wayne put them there. Everyone's iteration of paranoia, I guess. A pecan tree down for a hurricane that didn't come, bars up, a curtain closed, and lights off. Yet, growing up, the lights were always on. When I went to college, I had to learn how to turn the lights off when leaving a room. That concern was not ingrained in me. In college, my roommate sophomore year, aka former friend, you know how living together goes, slipped on some water from my shower. That was the final dissolution of our friendship. I didn't learn how to clean up the water from a shower. I thought it evaporated into the ground. Luckily, I learned later that it didn't, especially as Mama begged my mom to not wipe the floor when she exited the shower because it would weaken the tile. Weaken it did. Danger is far away. You're on the edge for it, waiting for flying water and wind to cause a tree to crash into your house, or someone to kick in your door to steal your prized mug with the butterfly on it, and kill you while your cheek melts into the cold side of your long salmon-colored pillow. You bring someone to the hospital and expect to leave with them, and then you don't. The local mortuary, the man who will later tell the story of how your grandma believed in him to be somebody, leaves with her instead. And then you sit in the dark and white Jaguar that night, waiting for your mom and your brother to exit the hospital, and you think, it didn't work out. And the dark punches you. And this new way of life, the curtains are closed, one room is empty, there's no rain to be heard, but my mom asked Alexa, is it raining? That's it.
Wanda, when are you gonna wear your hair down? Wanda, that's a whore's name. Wanda, why ain't you rich? Wanda, you know no man in his right mind want a ready-made family. Wanda, why don't you lose weight? Wanda, why you so angry? How come your feet are so goddamn big? Can't you afford to move out of this hellhole if you were you, if you were you, if you were you, you, if you were you, if you were you? Wanda, what is it like being black? I hear you don't like black men. Tell me you're AC/DC. Tell me you're a nympho. Tell me you're into chains. Wanda, I don't think you really mean that. You're joking, girl. You crazy. Wanda, what makes you so angry? Wanda, I think you need this. Wanda, you have no humor in you. You are too serious. Wanda, I didn't know I was hurting you. That was an accident. Wanda, I know what you're thinking. Wanda, I don't think they'll take that off of you. Wanda, why? Why are you so angry? I'm sorry, I didn't remember that was so important to you. Wanda, you're always on the attack. Wanda, 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 I wonder, why ain't you dead? That's Wanda, Why Aren't You Dead by Wanda Coleman. Yeah, beautiful Los Angeles poet.
She ancestor.
All right. I always gotta find this poem. It takes me a while. The delicacy of embracing spirals duplicates a foreign tendency to graft the landscape. It dizzies itself to become peer pressured, grows through movement as time, the foot following the other, makes steps sound like wind howling. All I ever have be the roundabout draining through the concept of a mind. A brain bears logic when magic decides to leave the room. I'm barely in my body. I forget to conjure it here. I hone frequencies out of possibilities, masquerading as Sundays. I take up space. I take up moons, I swallow ecstasies, I grin big, forget a face is what trains the world's eyes to fancy elegies, a meteor crash of a serious self. Like how drunk and high and heartbroken the streets gon' leave me every weekend, laugh at the minstrel showcase of a conscious being. Who you gon' be today? The tenacity fingering fiction of the human conditions, whose face you gon' sing today? Linger to bellow without teeth, aligned to a cosmic counseling, fly not to think, blend not to blur. The lines of irrefutable irony, the x-ray of a melancholic poet, drug-addled, drunk demon, dreary, drowning, desperate without cause. Who you gon' be today? Greet them at the astral. Tell them it was all a lie. Tell them this form is a second. Tell them to dread the spiraling, to enhance the spiraling, to force the spiraling, to manifest the spiraling, to embrace the spiraling, to distract the spiraling, to ride the spiraling, to stop the spiraling. To obliviate into madness and laugh at the fickle trickster who knows when to disappear into it all. I forget to laugh during the descent, the same self, the same question, take it all too seriously, the iridescent subject, the channeler, the menace, the griot, the society, and the society barking back at itself. Briska doesn't talk only to kill the self. I was never here. I am never here. The here is never here. The moment counts down to consent. Singularity in the electrodes of a heart monitor. Charred teeth, charred soul. Frozen nodes of fate awaiting the weight of its own feather and heart. Who you gonna be today? At the center of infinite, the body proclaimed a black girl child. Each phase of puberty pronounced a testimony of humanity, yet the audience wasn't sold on the performance perchance, power being the voice of the child. A pistol trigger warning, the child wields an entity of fury through gritted teeth, the eye be collapsing. A primordial judgment to step foot on porous ground. Philosophical unto extortion. Burning passion unto exploitation. Violent for preservation. Be the rage, don't perform it. Wear the rage, don't let it get stuck. Break the rage, don't fold it. Fiend the rage, don't fantasize. Surrender the rage, don't personalize. Drift the rage, don't escape. Stir the rage, don't let it build. Feminize the rage, don't father it. Transcend the rage, don't let it become you. Scope fallacies only to tell the truth. Be human always, but godless to your enemies. Be an enemy and reveal your palms to none. Appeal to no one and let your greatness parade for the masses. All the forces testifying for me to spit on. Laps, forget that my gums have been numb for a pair of 8 weeks. I witness my foes erode to bloodlust. Every tasteless and vain attempt to harm my spirit will make a star out of me. I never needed nor wanted it in the first place. No Machiavellian setup can humble the God behind my tongue. Who you gonna be tomorrow? Reveal too much. Say nothing at all. Fish for compliments in the sea of sharks, dressed finally only to let the wolves rip it to shreds. Prance in the clothing every Sunday. Become a dusted metaphor or two. Pretend to be a writer. Fancy yourself a rock star. Scoff at the ridiculousness of a principled poet. Hear the spoken word slam? They ain't saying shit at all. Disappear into the key of destroy flat. Gaslight the imagination. Gaslight the you that plays Heyoka on stage. Gaslight your mama. Gaslight the city. Gaslight your friends. Gaslight the audience. Gaslight the one man without a soul who claims to be your gaslight. The city again. Pretend to have a name again. Pretend to have a name again. Pretend to have a name again. That name again. Pretend to have a name again. Again. Again, transcend the spiral, die fiercely only to be born again in the margins of this third eye. A monarch butterfly exercises the feeling of you to be deified out of chaos. Honor the softness that craves to emanate from you. I care enough to observe the spectacle of myself. Charred innocence lingers its eyes into slumber. Camouflage youth impertinent to maturation, flying north to eucalyptus, forget the previous iteration of a soul's territory, aim to testify upwards at the sky. Build this life as a temporary home, chime exhales, brew a prolonged death, cry for no more here, and what was, and what is, and what migrates in endless topography, the shape of me, it conquers into regeneration. There are no values stationary in this grace, just an ounce of face, daring to smile itself into oblivion in order to heal, except the close proximity to annihilation. Your nearest deathbed is a mirror. It looks a lot like my eyes. Depart from ego. Create a framework composed of lotus bloom and let your cynicism dissipate. Magic. Thank you.
To tease her that it was her fault that I became a poet, and that it was particularly about that poem, because I could really identify with the poem, and I was arrogant enough at that age to say, I can do that. And so that's when I started writing poetry. And when I first came, I met her in a book called 3,000 Years of Black Poetry. And that poem was one of the poems in there. And I stole the book. That's how much I like the poem. And someone eventually stole it from me, so it goes around, comes around. But in that book, I met Gwendolyn, I met Amiri Baraka, I met Nikki Giovanni, I met Victor Hernandez Cruz, I met Bob Kaufman, you know, in that book. And so I was like a kid. And then eventually I had an opportunity to meet a lot of those people and to actually feature them in readings, publish them. And with Gwendolyn, we actually were close. So you heard We Real Cool. I'm going to read a praise poem that I wrote to Gwendolyn in my second book, third book. This is my third book. My first, third, and fourth books are back there. So this is the third, and this carries the poem Her Words for Gwendolyn Brooks. An archaeologist, not a lexicologist, figured it out. The word was a woman, mingling among the aromas of Ethiopia, brandishing a painter's brush in a day territorially defined by string. The archaeologist swept away ancient crust and sediment, finding language alive and agitated instead of the fossilized femur of a long-dead Ramapithecus. Words wrapped in rhythm, pleasure, knowledge, and pain. Words as sharply defined as an Ashanti sculpture. Words of an African dynasty made of peoples not restricted to kings. Words that survived the Atlantic. Words that survived Atlanta, words that survived migration, segregation, integration, and false resolution. Words worn as bracelets, amulets, and weapons. Words that were up long before they were down. Word up. Words that give more than she has taken. Children's lives were weaved first through her poems and then through their own words that could weave a world. Close with this poem, which is called Hallucinating at the Velvet Lounge. The Velvet Lounge is it was a world-renowned jazz club, and it was rated as one of the top 50 jazz clubs in the country, and it's dedicated to a trumpet player from Chicago named Malachi Thompson. When Malachi blew his horn, I dreamed of cornbread, yellow mounds with burnt edges on the velvet's culinary altar. His sharp cut riffs morphed into squares of cornbread islands floating in streams of warm butter, clinging to the ribs of my memory, speaking in trumpet tongues of passages and uprisings, ancient pain and good times jiving, sacred beats and blues timing, drive-by crying and signifying, an opiate inside of oppression. a cratered chunk of bacon-infused sweet potato, chicken smothered, maple pecan, custard-filled, smackling, crackling, jalapeno-infused cornbread. The crepe of the slaves now sold at Whole Foods in his jazz-drenched town built of golden bricks and smokestacks, billowing fumes of corn on the cob and catfish. My mind lost in music and metaphysics, reminiscing the Sunday manna served beside my mother's succotash. That reminds me, that word succotash, I don't call myself a Southern poet, but I was born in Baton Rouge and I grew up in San Francisco. So I claim both.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for this opportunity.
Hello.
I just flew in
USA.
yesterday from England. Yeah, and exactly what you said. I wanted to find some poetry events to go to while I was here, and I couldn't believe my luck. Normally I just go straight to family. I never come and stay in hotels. I used to live in San Francisco in my 20s. And I decided I'm just going to have a few days in the city and be a bit of a tourist, because you know when you come to visit family it's not quite the same as being a tourist. And I found this event right here, and my hotel is just 2 blocks away. So it was meant to be that I was here, and it's been a fantastic night. Yeah, I didn't introduce myself, did I? My name is Zita Holbourne. In the UK, I'm a multidisciplinary artist, a historian, I'm a visual artist, a curator, a vocalist. I'm in an all-black women's singing group called Nari Collective, and I'm a performer's poet and a writer and author. But I'm also a civil rights activist, a community activist, a human rights campaigner, and a trade unionist for 2 unions, the Public Information Services Union, but the Artists Union of England I'm the joint national chair of. And I campaign for equality, freedom and justice and human rights through arts and activism. So that's me. So I was asked to do the ancestor tribute bit, and literally just tried to find, where could I find some lyrics of somebody that means a lot to me. And I decided to bring a bit of the British and Caribbean feel and flavour to things. Because my roots are Caribbean, but I was brought up in the UK, in London, and I don't know if any of you here know about the Windrush scandal. So people came to the UK in the 1950s from the Caribbean. They were invited to help the country recover post-World War II. And then a few years ago, they decided en masse chartering planes to deport everybody and say they were illegal immigrants when they've been in the UK for 50 to 60 to 70 years and raised children, grandchildren, paid their taxes and contributed to British society. So I decided that the ancestor poet that I wanted to pay tribute to is the first black woman dub poet in history, Jean Binta Breeze. Anybody know Jean Binta Breeze here? That's why I thought I'd bring, you know, somebody perhaps. Maya Angelou's my favourite poet. It's great that there's been a tribute to her. So I wanted to share something of Jean Binta Breeze's poetry, and I decided on a poem which is about her experience really with her mother migrating to the UK to go there to work, make some money for the family, and being raised by her grandparents, but then needing to be sent for some years later. So Jean Binta Breeze sadly passed away before her time at the age of 65 last year. She was born in Jamaica. She grew up from about the age of 8 in the UK, and then she retired to Jamaica. So if you Google her, you'll find plenty about her. There's lots of tributes because of her passing last year. Is there any water here? I'm getting a bit of a dried throat. Is it possible to get a glass of water? Thank you. So Jean Binta Breeze, this is called The Arrival of Bright Eye. My mummy gone over the ocean, my mummy gone over the sea. She gone there to work for some money, and then she gone send back for me. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year gone, 4 year, 5 year, soon 6 years come. Granny say it don't matter, but supposing I forget her. Blinky, blinky, 1, 2, 3, blinky, blinky, remember me? Mommy sent this drew for my 7th, so Mama sent this dress for my 7th birthday. I born the day before Christmas. Oh, thank you so much. Big bottle of water, thank you. Mommy sent this dress for my 7th birthday. I born the day before Christmas, and she sent the shoes and a hat to match. I wear it that very Christmas Sunday, and when I come out into the square on the way to church with Granny, all the old man them laughing and chanting. Bright eye, red, white and blue. Bright eye, you're pretty for true. And Granny said, don't walk so bossy. Mine I buck up my toe and fall down and tear up the dress. Pan rockstone, because she gone to fold it up and wrap it up and pack it back in the crepe paper with 2 camphor ball and put it back in the suitcase this very evening. As soon as I take it off, put it back in the suitcase that I'm going to carry to England. Cross the sea, girl. You're going cross the sea, and a little water fall from Granny eye, which make her cross, and she shake me off, not for the dress, where I was holding on to make sure that I don't fall down, for the shoes hard to work in on Rockstone. And she wiped her eye with her handkerchief. And I looking up in Granny face. I know Granny face good. She say, it's me and my mother, our grandpa put all these lines in it. And I'm wondering, which lines is mine? And I'm thinking how Granny face look when sunshine and the flowers bloom, and when rain fall up the water barrel, and when drought and the bean tree dead. And when Grandpa bust a rude joke, I know Granny face, but now she wipe her eye and lock up her face tight. And I feel something tight lock up in my throat. For I can remember my mother's face. I can't remember my mother's face at all.